to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. Pardon the glasses. I just came from outside. We've just been hit with a winter storm, but I'm excited for today's episode. Today's guest is the founder and president of Annspire Sales Management Solutions and one of the most accomplished fractional sales leaders in the market. With over 25 years of executive sales leadership experience and advanced strategy training from Harvard Business School, she helps CEOs and teams turn sales confusion into clarity, structure, and scalable revenue. Today, we'll be talking about what it really takes to build sales systems that grow and last. Welcome to the show, Shirley Hayden.
Thank you, Will. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to the conversation. We didn't
I'm I'm
get
excited.
much
I'm
noise
excited.
too.
So this is Shirley's first podcast. So I'm honored to be her first experience in the podcasting realm. So welcome to the show, and I'm really excited.
Great.
So let's jump right into it. What first drew you into sales leadership, and what did you learn early that most people miss?
Well, that's a good question. I started off as a sales representative, and as I was growing my career early on, I won't date myself, but many years. You heard him. You said 25 plus years, and then I'm a natural leader, and I knew that I wanted to move throughout my career to advance, and so just watching systems and processing is just natural for me. So I knew leadership would be a great next step for me.
In the beginning of your career, what mistakes shaped how you lead today?
Oh, that's really good. All of them. I would say the greatest mistake is one, not asking for help when you know you may need help at some time, and not talking and speaking up about opportunities to improve systems. And so I think that that is one of the key pieces that helps me to be a very effective leader, because I want to hear from the folks that I'm leading. I want to make sure that they have the systems and processes in place to help them be successful, and then identifying where those gaps are to make sure that they have the best outcome each time.
So when did you realize that sales success is it's more than just systems? It's more systems than personalities. Sorry.
Oh, that's a good one. So, the name of your podcast, Stuck in the Mind, I
Yeah.
love it because number one, sales is mental. And so you have to mentally be engaged and in the game. You have to be in tune with the person you're talking to, because the goal is to help them achieve their goal and to get out of our own heads. We don't go in with our own agenda, but really to discover and understand, how can I help you? And so when it comes to likability, people do buy from people. That's just a natural fact. And then if, let's say, you have someone that's not as outgoing, there's introverts, there's extroverts, but there's effectiveness, knowing how to ask the right questions, making sure that you're really trying to uncover what their pain is, and how they are challenged with certain situations. That's really the key. So getting out of your head, getting into the mindset of who you're there to serve, and to understand that your questions help them to bring out what they're trying to get you to solve.
Awesome. So, what was the first underperforming team you had to turn around, and what did it teach you?
So the first, and I love that question too. Good questions, Will. Uh, so the first team I had was a team up in New England, and they were underperforming. The challenge was they weren't meeting their goals, they weren't meeting their quotas, and there was taken up to 2 years in order for them to become successful in the territories, or to at least start showing progress. So this is actually when I first entered into sales leadership. I sent an email, random email, to the CEO of the company at the time, and I said, hey, I think you're underutilizing my skills. I could see how we can get the team up in New England more productive. And the and he took a chance, and he allowed me to bring in my thoughts. And so I was able to add an onboarding process to train people when they came on board to not go out and just figure it out, but to have a system and a process to follow. And we were able to take it down from 2 years of people being profitable and up and running to less than 9 months for them to be up and running and profitable by just adding the right systems and the right processes.
And what's is I'm because I'm it took me building a system in order for me to get my podcast to where I really wanted it, right? Like when I first started, I had no structure to this, to what it was just me just recording, interviewing people, guys. And as I developed it and realized that I needed to develop a system in order to cut down on time, right? Because it can
Mhm.
be very, this can like podcasting. Yeah, you people think you just show up, record, and but there's a system to all of this. Like I have to do my research. I have to get the questions right and all this stuff. So I had to implement a system in order for me to get my podcast get going into the right direction. And it's really shown in the growth of the podcast, right? It's really helped me take it to another level from where I first started because it helps me structure it so much more. Where now, instead of spending 2, 3 hours preparing for a show, it takes me 30 minutes.
That's great. That's great.
So, how did your leadership philosophy evolve as responsibility and scaled increase?
So it really evolved because of continuing education, making sure that I am educating myself, not theoretically by just reading great books on strategy and structure on how to grow a sales team, but really being involved, going out with the people who are interacting with the customers every single day. Traveling different parts of the country to see that buying decisions are made differently depending on where you are. So, getting firsthand information, observing and watching what's working, because the goal is to create a repeatable and scalable process. And in order to do that, you have to be involved. You have to physically see it for yourself. You have to hear what the customers are saying. You have to listen to what the sales representative is telling you and giving you feedback. So, the way it continues to evolve is to stay educated. What's current? What's new? How can I make everyone's job easier? The person that's doing the selling and for the person that's receiving it, involving marketing into the messaging that's working and communicating with marketing on the messaging that may be falling flat, and we just need to shift it for the person that they're talking to. So over the years, you just continue to grow. I mean, I literally just came back this past week from our summit. I'm part of Sales Acceleration as one of their advisors, and we had a huge summit with all new technology, utilizing AI, utilizing tools that help identifying qualified leads much faster. So, those are the things that help you to evolve and improve your leadership. Staying engaged with other leaders and talking about best practices, joining the right peer groups to make sure that you're being supported so that you can give your best.
Oh yeah, and I just not just recently I just came back from a conference myself. It's Podfest, and it's where podcasters come and we learn marketing, newest AI tools. So everything you need to as an independent podcaster to help grow your podcast. So those events to me are important because of the networking and because of the continuous education. Because you're always learning new programs, you're always learning new software, you're learning, oh, this is a quality camera, whatever it is. So for me, I love it because I get to I get up to date on technology. AI especially is one of the things that has helped me take my podcast and my brand to a different level. But it's just also the networking. It's the relationships that I get to build when I connect with people at these events. Like this, people that I've met because it was the third time I attended this conference, and so people that I met a few years ago, just being able to still to reconnect with them and see them in person because we still connected online. We still kept in touch virtually and stuff like that. But to actually connect with them in person and build with them while you're there and really build those relationships, it to me networking is key in anything in any business you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So why do so many sales teams struggle even when the product is strong?
Well, that's a loaded question, and it really can be multiple reasons for that. Again, I would say most of them struggle because they don't understand the process. They haven't been properly onboarded. Typically, there may be no infrastructure in place for them to follow. So, let me give you an example. When I work with small to mid-sized businesses, and anywhere between 5 million up to $100 million. And so you can have a $20 million organization that does not have a sales process. So you hire a salesperson and you're not really onboarding them to who is our ideal client profile. What are the key messaging that we want to deliver? Most people think this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is the product we sell. But in fact, the buyer can be multiple people. So if you're talking to the CEO, your message has to be something that's important to the CEO. He's not going to be concerned with the same thing that operations person is concerned with, or the facilities person is concerned with. So your messaging has to be specific to that buying persona. So they struggle with not having the right tools in order to deliver the messages, because there's a misconception that all salespeople can sell. And that is true, but they can sell certain things. There's different types of salespeople. There's hunters, there's farmers, there's people that maintain the account. So that's a true account manager where they have that relationship. They communicate with the client, but they're not really selling them. That hunter goes out and they're finding new opportunity, but they're not necessarily always good at maintaining that relationship. So depending on the type of product or service you're serving, you need to make sure you've identified the right sales personality and capabilities for that role. So when they don't have assessment tools that bring them in the first place, they may be in a sales role that they're really not equipped for. Some sales roles need you to be curious, but if you're a regimented person and you need everything written out for you in black and white, you're not going to succeed. If you're someone who is not curious, because curiosity is huge. Curiosity is going to make a salesperson totally excel, because you're looking for ways to make sure you're not missing things. But if that salesperson is a farmer, they just know how to maintain, they're not going to grow their business. They're not going to look inside of the existing customer that they have and find out new opportunities there to expand. Key thing, you can get, yeah, a sold customer is your best customer. So really work that customer account and make sure you're meeting all the needs instead of the one product or service you came in there. So typically they fail because of processes. It's usually not the salesperson, it's that they may be the wrong person in the wrong seat, or the process wasn't in place for them to be successful.
Okay. What's the biggest difference between a sales team that survives just to survive and the one that scales? Because I'm sure it's all the process, like you've been talking about, right? So what is it? What is it that really change shifts for that company, that they go from barely surviving to thriving now, to where they're really hitting their mark?
Buildable, scalable and repeatable sales come from sales processes and infrastructure being in place. That's how you repeat and scale. That's how you'll have predictable revenue forecasts. Those are the pieces that make a difference. So, sales organizations that survive are because they have real go-getters that can keep going out there and make one-offs. But you can't scale that way. You can't have that superstar salesperson that gets two or three great hits every year, but you can't repeat or scale from it. It's slow and steady wins the race, is the term most people use. But realistically, the process helps you win the race to create a scalable and repeatable sales system.
Sometimes slow and steady doesn't win. It doesn't win you the race, right?
Right.
There's a lot of businesses, if they don't implement a proper system, that they kind of go out of business if they're not able to find that system that's able to take them the next step.
Yeah. And they could simply add a sales playbook. That's something that we specialize in, a customized sales playbook. Today I was working with a law firm, and I'm doing a playbook for his team. And it's so interesting because I mean I've interviewed three different of the same staff members that do the same job, but everyone's doing it differently, using different tools, using different resources. So having a true sales playbook, so when you onboard someone, there's a book that they can refer to. This is how I'm supposed to be doing it. That's part of the build out to repeat and scale repeatable and scalable systems.
When you have us when you so you just mentioned you interviewed three different people doing the same job, and they all three had different ways of doing the job.
Absolutely.
Eh, eh, Were they all correct, or was it how is it how or did you talk and be like, we need to implement one system that everyone uses to make sure that we're all on the same wavelength or page, whatever it is?
So, first, to answer your question, they're all correct, right? Because they're all getting the same end
Result?
result, but
Okay.
it's not repeatable when someone else comes on. What it causes is a slowdown and stall in the processes. It causes interruptions when clients call in, and it causes confusion because communication isn't seamless at that space. So, my job during this period is really discovery. It's not a performance piece, but it's really discovering what's happening on the day to day and how can I help them create a smoother system so everyone is on the same page. They're duplicating work. Some are using one system, some's using a tracker, some people are using their own personal notes. But if we can just, after this discovery, then I go into let's identify the one system that can capture all the information. What does that do? It creates more efficiencies. It improves communication. It limits the amount of times that things are going to get lost in the cracks because when you have three different systems and processes, the checks and balances are off.
Okay. So, so how do you balance the data, the accountability, and human motivation in sales leadership?
Oh, I love accountability. That's my key word. If you ever met my son, you'd say he grew up, everything's accountable. You got to be accountable. You have to be accountable. So, accountability is for everyone's benefit because who wants to be measured off of emotion? You're doing a good job. But if I'm in a bad mood today, you're doing a terrible job. The data doesn't lie. So KPIs are the key performance indicators. I advocate that every organization, no matter what the size of the organization is, has a CRM system. The CRM system, it helps you track the behavior that's most important to accomplishing the goals. And that data is on a dashboard. So everyone logs on their computer every day. We're in the same CRM system from the CEO to the salesperson. We're all looking at the same KPIs. If that salesperson is supposed to make 20 calls a day, did you achieve your calls? There's not a question now. You're logging that information in. I get a report. We're going to talk about where the breakdown is. If you're not successful, you submit. I have one client who submits multiple proposals and they're not winning any proposals. Here's the issue with that. When I say let's take a look at your CRM system to see where the breakdowns occurring in your proposal submission, what we're finding is there is no process. So we don't know what steps were missed, why they're not winning. We just know it went from a meeting to a proposal. So when you put the actual sales process in there and start managing it, it helps everyone to be accountable. Did we hit the key points that we know help people sign deals and to maintain clients? So the accountability comes with loading that data into the CRM, actually utilizing it, and holding something that most organizations don't take as serious as they should, but weekly one-on-one meetings with your sales team. And that's really going over the information that we're tracking. Did you hit your KPIs? If you didn't, let's talk about where we might need to support you with more training or pivot. What's happening with your proposals? You can review the notes and give them coaching and feedback. Those are the ways to keep salespeople on track and accountable and give true measurement. Then, when you're going to forecasting and predicting, you have data to go back to. You bring on a new person and you say, well, I need you to make 20 calls a week. But the data really shows that the average salesperson that's producing is making 25 calls a week. That really should be the benchmark for how many calls a week you're making to be successful.
So how should leaders think differently about sales as they grow from small teams, maybe to a national scale?
Well, they one first and foremost, the biggest piece is to think that sales is the engine in the organization. And a lot of the times, leaders add marketing and think that marketing is going to get them the results for their sales, where that is not actually the case because marketing's never going to call a client back. Marketing's not going to troubleshoot to see what went wrong. They're not going to do follow up calls when there's inquiries. So, the first thing leadership needs to do is really recognize the strength of the sales department and offer ongoing training to make sure that their sales teams are equipped, to make sure that they put processes in place and making sure that when they bring on someone, they're giving them repeatable, proven processes that have worked. One of the keys with the small to mid-sized businesses, leadership is typically the first salesperson in the organization. The founder is also the salesperson going out and getting their business. And so you can't really work on the business if you're working in the business. So they have to first decide, when do I step away and bring someone in to do that for me? Well, when you're scaling, it's not always possible. But what they can do now is fractional. What I am is a fractional vice president of sales. So instead of bringing on an expert vice president of sales, which is a very high salary, you can bring in a fractional to help put these pieces in place, allow you to get the processes in order. They get to work on the business. The fractional is in there building out the sales team, even positioning to scale it to a national scale, help them bringing on their team while that infrastructure is being built. So, really knowing when it's time to move to bringing in someone else to help grow that business. And fractional is a really great way to do it, not just with sales, but with marketing, with CFOs, all of those pieces as you're growing, you can get the expertise of years of learning with someone that is coming in once a week and will make great impact in the organization.
So what does sustainable growth actually look like in today's business climate?
It looks like it's repeatable. It looks like we have a plan that has been properly forecasted. We're making data driven decisions. We are training and developing the team to make sure that they understand what is the pain that our clients, our customers are experiencing. And we're communicating weekly. We're coming back and we're troubleshooting and we are making sure we pivot when we have to pivot. We're staying current of our competitors and making sure that we really do have value proposition that's being communicated and it's solving the problems in a way that is meaningful to our clients. So you sustain by being current, involved, focused, and having an actual plan that you're working and you're reviewing. That's the big piece.
Okay. Because you mentioned founders and it. So what's I know there's got to be some common blind spots founders have when it comes to sales growth. Because like you mentioned, some of them they're the first salesperson, right? What are other common things that they might make mistakes they might or blind spots they might have when it comes to sales growth?
Some of the blind spots are the right people in the right seat. A lot of the times, as you're scaling your business, you're bringing in people that you know and have relationship with, and it feels natural to promote them to that next role. But they may not exactly be cut out for the role that they're being placed in sales. You may have them appoint a sales leader that's an excellent salesperson, but when it comes to leading and managing and directing and holding accountability, that's not their strength. So maybe that's not the right role for them. Another common mistake that leaders make is really bringing on salespeople or business development people without the process in place, just assuming that they're going to be able to come in. We're making money. We're doing great. We're making 10, 20,000, $20 million a year. Just come on in here and sell it. without giving them the proper tools and equipment to help them to be successful. And it's, I mean, 80+% of small to mid-sized businesses do not have a sales process. And
And
that's the first problem.
that's my next question is as a small business owner, how do you realize that you need this process? When do you start beginning to realize that, man, this I have to do something to change? What is it about the small business and mid-sized business that they have to do something to make that shift?
It's really when they've become stalled, like we're not growing. And each person I'm bringing on is not delivering. And at first, it's hard for them to receive the fact that you need a process in place because when you have success, it's like, well, we know where we're selling, we know who our customer is, and this is what they need to be doing. But the processes are really to help you to figure out when coaching and breakdown happens. So when they start stalling and they can't get past that plateau in sales, they start realizing it. Or when they bring in a good CFO that is looking at the numbers and starting to give them more data driven decisions, and they realize I need someone to manage this with our sales team. We're only selling one or two of our 20 product line products to each customer, where then they start understanding, okay, if we had a process to focus on new products, existing products, expanding the product lines, that would make more sense. So it's really when they're stalled, they start getting other people involved to help them identify gaps in the organization. That's when they start realizing it because the processes, they're not the fun part of it. You know, everyone wants just revenue. They bring you in, I want the revenue to grow. Well, first let's make sure we have a sales process. Let's make sure we have the infrastructure in place to support the people that are going to be generating the revenue.
That's awesome because being a lot of small businesses, like you said, they don't have that process. They don't know, and some of them that they don't know about it. Like there's small business owners that don't know any of these processes, that they don't know what it is what it takes for them to be able to scale and grow. And so having someone like you around to be able to take them to the next level, it's awesome. So what advice would you give to leaders who want revenue growth and strong culture?
What the main advice I would give to them is to at least start reaching out and having discovery calls. A discovery call with a fractional VP of sales, happy to do it. But taking an assessment of the status of where your sales are, to come outside of the space that they're currently working in and get an inside view of that. I mean, I offer a free, a complimentary 2-minute sales assessment that will allow them to see what's the state of your sales organization. Does it make sense to have another conversation?
What kind of sales legacy do you want the leaders you coach to build?
Repeatable sales that just help them to continue to grow and to expand. And I would love for them to see where the new opportunities are. So when you incentivize your sales organization to look for other opportunities, those are the best people to come back to the company and say, hey, look, our competitor's doing this. We might need to consider looking into this particular product offering, or how we can improve upon whatever is the new trend out there. That's important. You also asked another question I'm going to revisit, where you said some of the things that sales business owners and leaders overlook, and it's compensation.
Mm.
Compensation is key. There's 90% of most salespeople aren't compensated correctly in the small and mid-sized businesses. Either they're having a too low of a salary and high commission, which doesn't incentivize people to get out and work. They're probably doing multiple things in the background, or they have too high of a base salary and very low commission. That means I'm going to get paid no matter what. So it doesn't matter how I deliver. I just need to look like I'm busy. So a nice balance and mix to that is really where it needs to come in. And it could be more in the 50-50 range when you're looking at salary and commission. You want them to be able to live and survive and do well, but you also want to give them an incentive to continue to grow and produce more revenue for the organization.
And that's and I've noticed a lot of small businesses don't. It's not that they don't want to incentivize, but they just probably don't know about it. They don't know how to compensate these workers, or where, being that again they're small and everything, they don't know what it is to really keep that sales rep or leader, whoever, motivated to continue to do great work.
Yeah, it's very complex. Compensation can be very complex. It can be very customized, and that's another area we help with, making sure that they have the right compensation plans in place because you want A players. A players are going to come with a fee. And how do we make sure we keep them happy? Not everyone's incentivized by money. So, is there opportunity for growth within the organization? What can you show them as they build their career working with you?
Yeah. Oh, any I think any person who wants to work at a company where they know they can grow at, right? They know that, hey, I'm here and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. There's room for me to grow and advance and move on in the company. So, yeah, that's something that's very important because you want to, like you said, you want the A players. You
Absolutely.
want those players that want to be there and that look at the business as, hey, I'm here. This is part of this. I'm part of the development and growth of this business. Then you would want them to treat it as if it's their own.
Hmm. And guiding principles in an organization, the right culture in the organization, all of those pieces make a difference. And when you start a business, most people write their business plan, they have their vision and mission statement, and then they never revisit it. But what happens when you start utilizing the guiding principles at the beginning of each meeting to remind people of what you're doing and why you're doing it? And not just using it as words, but living it out where they can actually see that happening in the organization. Sometimes organizations say they have guiding principles, but it's very dysfunctional and they're not really utilizing them. The culture of the organization will expose that. So, knowing what kind of culture you build is important because some people can thrive in certain cultures and they can't in others. So, that's another key piece when you're in the hiring and process and looking at the right client. You need to understand what culture they fit in best. And as an interviewee, if you're a salesperson, you should be concerned about the culture of the organization. Can I work in here? People say fast paced, um, you know, ability to pivot quickly, but that is very different from toxic, dysfunctional, and no organization. So, but it can be disguised as fast paced and all of
That's
those.
what I was going to ask. That's what going to be my next was like, okay, but what if the environment is toxic? Like,
Eh,
why would you want to be in such an environment if you know that it's this? Yes, there's room for advancement, but are you going to be happy there? Is that environment, is it worth you? Like, is it worth you sacrificing yourself in order to work there? So, like, yeah, the environment definitely must play a big part.
Oh, absolutely. And that you can tell from leadership. The what comes from the head falls down, so they're going to have certain people in place. So my attitude is wherever I go, I want to make an impact, whoever I'm working with. My goal is to be impactful. And when you're working as a fractional, you do get to choose who you want to work for. And the moment I sense that particular environment may not be a good fit for me, I listen because you want to be impactful wherever you go. So that means I have to be able to work and trust, and they have to trust as well. Trust is key.
Yeah. No, no, it is. Because even one day recently at work, um, uh, one of my subordinates, because every day at the end of the shift, I go around everybody that was working with me and I tell them great job, great shift, whatever it is. I tell them good job, date. And one day I didn't do it. and someone called me out on it. The next day she saw me, she was like, um, "I'm kind of pissed off at you." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Because you're one of the few people here that at the end of our shift, you tell us good job, you tell us great day, whatever it was, whatever it is you tell, and I look forward to that." Yeah, she says you might not realize it, but we do. We notice these. We notice when people actually mean what they're saying. She says, "I look forward to when you tell me good job because I know you truly mean it." And she's like, and when you didn't say it, kind of pissed me off. And I was like, and I understood, and it was crazy because I understood why I didn't. It was just one of those days that I was not in. It was I had a situation where it kind of turned my mood and soured my mood for the day.
Mm.
And so it wasn't that I was taking out on them, but I didn't realize that something that I do commonly every day that she noticed that I didn't do it that day.
No, because people are still people. We're no one's machines, right?
Mhm.
And that's the beautiful thing that she felt comfortable enough. So you've created a safe space for her to be able to come to you and say, "Hey, I missed that." But a lot of the times, organizations fail to celebrate the wins.
Mhm.
Like when things are going good, you should stop and celebrate the wins, right? Because what does that do? It makes me want to win even more as a salesperson. They want to know that what they're doing is appreciated and valued. And just as much as we talk about the things we need to improve, we ought to talk about and celebrate the things that went well, what went right this week, and where do we have an opportunity to fix something. But celebrate the wins before you change the post and a new goal is put in place. So a lot of the times organizations, not well run organizations, will just change the goal once you make it instead of celebrating you just accomplished the goal. And now we're going to now reevaluate, let's take it to the next level. They just go to the next level and you never feel like you quite succeeded. But if you are really strategic, you celebrate that win and let them know that you just expanded the growth trajectory of the organization. And now I'm going to use what you've done to help others in the organization. And we're not going to discard what you just accomplished. That easy piece would make the person that's getting that new goal. Most salespeople sandbag because their feeling is, if I do really well this quarter, I'm going to have to make it up next quarter. But if it's properly structured, those things can be eliminated.
Okay, awesome. Oh man, this has been awesome. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming through. But now we've come to the part of the show where you get the solo screen, the spotlight, and you get to plug away, let everybody know where they can find you, websites, everything.
Okay, great. Well, again, I'm Shirley Hayden. My company is Annspire Sales Management Solutions. And basically, I can work with anyone across the country because we can do it virtual or I can do a fly in if needed. You can reach me at shayden at salesacceleration.com. And my phone number, because I'm happy to put that out there, happy to take a phone call with you, is 301 247 4790. I'd be happy to give you a complimentary assessment to find out where your state of sales currently lies and how I can help fill the gaps. Again, that's Shirley Hayden with Annspire Sales Management. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome, sure. Thank you so much for being such a great guest. I appreciate your time. But don't leave just yet. I want to chat little bit off the air, but I appreciate you again for being a guest. Thank you. Shout out to Angela Lewis for making this happen.
Yes, thanks, Angela.
It was a pleasure being your first podcast. This is
No, this was great.
awesome.
You made it easy, Will.
Oh, no, I try to my best to make my guests as comfortable as possible. Because I learn from this, right? These conversations I learn a lot from, and so to me it's a win-win when I have these conversations, especially when I'm able to make my guests feel comfortable and make them, because when you're comfortable, you just I get some of the best answers when my guests are just comfortable and then just having a good time.
Yes, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And listen, I have more friends, so if I'll hook up, I'll tell Angela and I'll connect you with some fellow podcasters Or if you looking to do more shows, that's up to you.
Absolutely. I want to get the word out because businesses can grow. You
Hmm.
just want the right resources to help you get to that level because you can't do it all on your own. But having the right people in the right seat can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Thank you so much. Like I said, but don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit off the air.
Okay. I look forward to it.
All right, everybody. Another great episode. If you're a founder or leader looking to bring structure, clarity, and confidence to your sales organization, connect with Shirley and Annspire Sales Management Solution. All the links are in the show notes. And if this episode helped you rethink how sales should work, share it with a leader who needs to hear it. You know how your boy Wize does it? Please, if you haven't subscribed or liked, please do. Peace out.